Well, the crew here over at Cassone's RV did finish up this 2009 Journey that needed a new roof for the third time. Chad's gonna go ahead and put the slide out room out, and then we'll take a look on the outside and on the inside. Good work, Chad. Glad to see that the slide out works. Huh? Slide out still work, even after you worked on the roof.
That's right.
It's evident. We have proof. Now the most obvious difference is that the roof itself is not painted on the radius like a normal Winnebago would be. It was an aesthetic choice made by the owner in order to save quite a bit of money, because painting that is quite a bit of work. I think I saw right here, ladder extension. All right, go ahead and put that on. And before we climb on the roof, let's just take one more final look on the inside. I don't think there's too much to see. Chad brought it back over here to do one final clean out on it because you guys remember there was two supports, one in the bedroom and then one in the living room right here. And when you're working with styrofoam tends to get everywhere. Even if you clean it, it always finds its way back out from all the little hidey holes where it was. So they're going to do another cleaning job on it. Now, I think it's a pretty good indicator that we have a crown on that still. That's why we did put the support in it that I was talking about.
Does that tape measure up to still, James?
Sure is. I don't think it's going anywhere. I gave it the old
Rat strap flick?
Yeah, good. Nice and supported right in the middle. That's where they put the smoke alarm. Those landscape timbers really do come in handy.
They're cheaper than 4x4s.
Oh my gosh, right? I think it was overkill.
James, I will put in the extra effort to not have to be the last guys.
Because we took off all the Luan and lamination from the top section, if you don't support the roof, it will collapse. Now, of course, we know the previous shop didn't even remove the old Luan paneling. They just rolled on glue and put a new file on top of it, which is, of course, why this is being done the third time. Don't forget, this is the original Luan. They ripped off the Phylon and didn't replace it, and that's why it's so bad and rough. So there was no chance of that stuff ever sticking because there was no surface for it to bond to. It's so irregular, right? That's why you don't reuse the old Luan. Yeah. Everybody always asks me that question too.
So much glue everywhere.
So let's see, they went ahead and put a seam right in the middle of a wire run. It's not even like a small wire run, it's a pretty wide one. Call it almost 3 inches, and yeah, nothing's supporting that.
Maybe 3.5.
So, yeah, I mean, I'm not an engineer, but I would say that's a bad design.
All the stuff.
All right, so yeah, if he would have pulled off the original decking, they would have noticed that there was water damage right here because we even got mold on the Romex. And then look at all of this open space right in the middle of the roof. So no contact there, that big hole, and then of course
Right there.
that big channel right there.
And you know, the engineers called for it had to.
That almost worked.
That's not how people work, right?
Right. I mean, again, I'm not an engineer, Chad, okay? But it seems to me, rather than coming up in the middle with all the wires, they could have just gone to the side, brought it down to the side where there's almost a notch right in here that would be able to handle all that wiring, rather than right down the middle
where it's the weakest.
Where it's the weakest. Again, not an engineer. Whoa! See, all it took was like 10-15 minutes, maybe 30. Because they put way too much glue on it and caused a lot of bubbling, a lot of problems with adhesion because of the imperfections within the old Luan paneling itself. So overall, I think we're pretty pleased with the way this turned out. I think you can see on the ground right here some more styrofoam. Yeah, definitely has a curve in it now. Very nice. Now I think in fairness, this roof hadn't collapsed like the previous roof did. This roof, when it was replaced, like I said, it was just bubbling and delaminating substantially when the shop did it the second time. And the customer, or the owner of this 2009 Journey, basically refused to accept delivery on it because the roof wasn't good. That's why it was over here at Cassone. So let's get on the roof one more time and see how it looks now that it's all completely wrapped up. The ladder's nice and strong, holding my weight. We got a beautiful sunny day here, so we have a lot of light being able to be cast on here to look for imperfections on the roof. The roof feels very strong. We look down the edge right there. I don't see any delamination or bubbling. The radius turned out really nice. We got a nice bead of ProFlex right there, keeping the edge from popping back out again. What's that? That is silicone. And they did not get it down into there, but more importantly...
This is why you don't use silicone.
Guess what they forgot to do?
I know, peel the plastic off. They didn't peel the plastic off at any of the vents.
Uh-huh.
And they also didn't put any sealant underneath any of the vents either.
I believe it. I'm looking at it right here. Yeah, definitely they didn't take off the plastic, did they, Chad?
It makes cleanup easier.
Yeah, it did make it easier. So this needs to not be silicone. It can't be a cap seal. This is what's supposed to glue this edge down. And they didn't glue it down. It was just a cap seal. And silicone is a good adhesive, but once it lets go, it lets go. There's no strength to it. Yeah, it's a nice thing about the ProFlex. It's harder to work with and it does yellow, but it's paintable. And it's a little bit self-healing, so even if it does crack in the heat, it does tend to stick to itself again. Not like silicone. Now I don't think they replaced a lot of the components on this roof, so I think the original vents are still there, because I think they were newer, and of course these are going to be the original vent covers that were on it. Same with the TV antenna. They did change out the sewer vent, that's pretty evident. Because Winnebago in this year still didn't have roof ACs on these, still had the basement ACs. We didn't have to worry about that, which is really nice because there's a lot less holes on the roof because of that. One of the last things I had to do was reinstall the patio awning, and that did get screwed down into that aluminum radius right there. No cove foam on these roofs, right, Chad?
No cove on this one.
What do you think? You pleased with your work?
She's a lot more solid now.
Oh yeah. I mean, you still don't have parties on your roof. You never have parties on a roof. That's not what they're intended for. But I think I see 1 or 2 kind of bow supports.
Yeah, there's 5 in the roof.
You put 5 in.
Yeah.
Guy's gonna lay out, you can see an orange mark right up there. We're gonna put some cross supports. He's found that trying to land on these makes it a little bit easier too. But I think on this one we're only gonna go for about 4 of them.
I think 4 or 5.
4 or 5. Last we had saw, we ripped off the decking, and now you can see that they have cut out using that hot knife channels in order to mount some tube framing in there to keep the crown on the roof. They've already installed one of them here. It does match the bow or the profile of the roof there, and because there is a ledge for it to sit on, they just notch it out. That way we can just screw it down. We're gonna put one there, one there, one there, one there, and another one right there. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then over here, they're just in the process of making the next one. You can definitely see that it does not have. With that angle, you can see it's got a pretty good curve on it. And over here will be the next ones. They are custom made for each section of the roof, so they do number them right there. And while the hot knife that they're using was an upgrade, we are still using the tubing bender from when we first started this thing. a few years ago.
You always can kind of see and feel the beams because you got a little bit of squish here from foam, and then not so much
squish right there.
Yeah, here, and then there's one here, and then there's one here,
and then one more right at the vent.
Here.
Yeah. Did you put, but none in the back?
None in the back.
None in the back.
Yeah, just in here. It was a little sinky and more flat in this front section than I'd like. So.
See by the cutoff foam on the lift here, the guys over here at Cassone's RV have started to fill in all the gaps like I said they were going to, and they're going to start sculpturing that foam to match the profile of the styrofoam. They're going to fill up all these spaces right there. That'll give more bonding surface for the contact adhesive when we glue on the paneling. That aluminum trusses were screwed down into the aluminum extrusion there, and this is really starting to come together. I can tell you it already feels strong. I'm not going to stand on it yet because I don't want to get blamed for anything, but it usually takes a couple lifts to fill in all the gaps, fill in the next gap so that it's not really soft. If you cut it too soon, it'll still keep expanding like this stuff did. So those steps come back using our favorite saw right here. Cut that off and then sand that smooth. Usually takes about 2 lifts, sometimes 3. But you can see they're doing a pretty good job filling all that gap in right there. And that's what we're filling it in with. It's pretty easy. It's a lot of fun to do too. Go ahead and fill it in like you're frosting a cake. It'll expand a little bit. This stuff is minimally expanding. That's why we like to use it. But it's an incredibly good adhesive too. So not only will we fill in this space with the foam, but it will bond this aluminum to that foam. And then of course we're doing it on all the seams where the foam meets the foam. That'll make this foam glued to this foam, so it's not quite so free floating anymore, which we found has done a good job of stabilizing the roof and keeps it from sagging over time too. Once they're done doing all the expanding foam, it's going to be time to put the Stabon 183, which is the foam safe glue, on the foam, and the Luon, glue it down. And then on top of that will be the Phylon using the Stabon 440, which is a lot easier to use. The 183, I always find it difficult for the first 2 panels, but it's going to be nice. Well, new Winnebago roof. I know a lot of people always ask me, maybe you can tell them, what if they would have just used a spray-on roof coating? Why didn't they just do that?
There's no structure in spray-on roof coatings.
It just coats the top layer, right?
Correct.
So if it's delaminated and bubbling, it didn't fix the problem.
Still delaminating and bubbling then.
But underneath that expensive coating.
Correct.
I do like the coating. I mean, you could at that point put the coating on here and you probably feel pretty good about it.
That's double overkill.
But that is double overkill, but you still didn't fix the structural problem with just coating it.
Yeah, it's not going to keep your roof from caving in.
Right, it's styrofoam and some Luon paneling. Not anymore, because now we actually have
beams keep it from caving in though.
Some legitimate framing that Winnebago for some reason still refuses to put in all their roofs. I don't know why.
Then you have to admit that you did something wrong.
That's how you grow. Well, Chad,
another one down.
Another one down. And you like putting that bead of sealant on the front cap too.
I always feel better about that.
Winnebago doesn't do that. I don't know why they don't do that.
No idea.
All right.
They like it. It's up to fail.
And yeah, the paint is still peeling right here, but we can point out Winnebago, even though they didn't admit failure and change things, they did start adding screws to the side of the caps right here because they were always peeling away. That's why whenever I do a roof, I always add screws there anyways.
I started buying extra of the factory retainer clips
so
they look better.
So it looks a lot better than the trash I normally do. All right, you're better than me.
Well, we got a paint shop, so I can paint them.
All right, Chad. Thanks a lot. Thanks for sharing the process with me again.
Anytime.
Hey, yeah, it was great work.
And on to the next one.
I think you got a Majestic you're working on right there anyways.
Yeah, that one actually got a very similar process. It had to get beams in its roof too.
Say it ain't so.
That's because in someone's infinite wisdom, they decided to put a 2-inch hole saw right through a structural beam in the roof for the antenna.
Huh.
And then wonder why it caved in and held water. Weird.
Was it the factory?
Another dealership.
Another
down the
dealership.
street.
Well, another successful roof job done. But you might want to check your screws if you have a Winnebago too on your slide out fascia. They didn't touch those. It's not an uncommon problem to see. But if you do have a Winnebago or you're interested in buying a Winnebago RV, at least a motorhome, do make sure you're always getting on the roof, inspecting the roof before you buy it. And if you do happen to own an RV from Winnebago, which is also a motorhome, make sure at least twice a year you're checking the seal right at the radius here. Once that goes, the roof is very free floating. Wind will get underneath it, rip it off. You'll need a new roof. The lamination is still not uncommon, but as long as the roof edge is down, you're still gonna do really well. We can always try to mitigate a little bit of delamination in the future if you want to, but eventually you will have to address that too, which is why you always want to inspect a Winnebago roof before you buy it. Thanks a lot for watching, guys. But I also want to thank the whole crew here over at Cassone's RV for putting up with me as they tackled 2 Winnebago roofs at the same time while I was bothering them. Bye, guys. All right, you got a little bit more cleanup to do.
A little bit more foam.
A little bit more.
Always more foam. Like, no, dude.
Well, that's why I like to make videos. That way my customers, can see what I'm actually doing. So he's gonna put one right there, 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 and there. That way in the future, if anybody wants to put a roof AC on there, there'll be a frame support to carry the load of the AC. And if you pull it down, like Chad was saying, you'll be able to see that frame support when you pull the vent trim down. And we all know that we actually put them in, even though you guys will see them in here. Tell you what, it sounds like some of your best customers now are other repair centers.
I wish it wasn't so.
You don't want that kind of customer, right?
No.